Well, hi, everybody. I am so pumped to be able to interview and have a conversation with Alan Mars. Like I said earlier, Alan's usually behind the camera. We pulled him in front of the camera for this week, for this Easter. And Alan, it's been such a joy to watch your faith journey here at OTCC. You've shared with me before that you didn't grow up as a Christian. Let me ask you, it's a favorite question I like to ask people who came to Christ a little bit later as an adult. Did you see nudges toward faith as you were growing up?
Yes, that's something, looking back in retrospect, I can see God's work in my life long before I came to Him being in my life. I didn't grow up Christian, but I did grow up with my mom always, sort of wanting me to go to church. When I was like 7, 8 years old, she took me to church every Sunday with her. I did some stuff in the Sunday school youth group for a little bit of time, but then I stepped away. And didn't really want to go to church as a young kid. And then in high school, again, my mom went to church. She started volunteering. I spent time with her and volunteering within that church as well, but not really um, like taking the sermon, taking the scriptures and like applying it to my life, but not really getting that full encompassing taking Christ in.
Hmm.
Um, and then same thing in college. I attended church a little bit here and there, but really there was sort of that worldly pull away that I wasn't sure about Christ at that time. And then everything changed when my brother died in 2015.
Mm.
And that really pulled on me. Seeing my mom's faith tested during that time period really put me in like a year-long journey to examine my faith, examine what I believe.
Yeah.
And then ultimately meeting my wife, Andrea, who many of you hopefully know, and joining this church, finding that I fell in love with formerly Downtown Baptist, now Old Town Community Church,
Yeah.
hearing Phil's scriptures and sermons and messages, and really understanding, this is God, this is who Jesus is in my life, and wanting more of that, and ultimately accepting my faith in summer 2016, getting baptized here in the baptistry right up there as I'm in the sanctuary right now recording this in the fall just before November, and now just being a part of the church and finding my home in the media ministry
Yeah.
here.
So do you tell me what it was like when you came to faith? I know you described that journey from a big picture, but do you remember any conversations that you had, or was it just one of those things where light bulb went off as you worshiped with Andy and everything? Tell me about that a little bit.
um, I think it was always sort of building on top of itself. I do remember distinctly my mom visiting from Florida, that period just before I started coming to the church, and we went and did a moment of reflection together, and just having the conversation in the car that really spoke to me about her faith, and that really sort of gave me a big nudge to start exploring more. But then seeing my wife's faith, when we were just getting to know each other, and seeing her love of Jesus really made me examine it even deeper and realize, yes, this is what I've been wanting in my life. I sort of knew but didn't know, if you can get that understanding where it was there, but you didn't know you were missing it until you got it.
Yeah.
And then just coming here, and the first Sunday I got to come into the church as a guest, as just somebody off the street, if you will, with Andrea, but meeting everyone within the church, being welcomed by the Hooks, Bill and Chris, standing around greeting everybody, hearing your word, Phil, and just the way that I feel that a message should be conveyed, and really looking at how our faiths are viewed within this world, but also just the overwhelming grace of Jesus that I knew I needed that time, and I was glad to be received.
Alan, And hey, if this is, you know, if you want to take a pass on this question, feel free to. But you've mentioned before that huge moment in your life when your brother died, and you became a Christian not too long after that. How has your faith helped you navigate the journey of grief? How has your faith, how have you been able to hang on to the hope of new life and the resurrection of Jesus through that?
That is a good question. It's a difficult one. Grief is always ongoing. I know that that first year after he died, it played hard on me. Um, but also the trial of finding my faith, or at least identifying what my faith is going toward at that time, was really helpful in that grief process. And uh, I think just the knowledge of, you know, as we understand it, life after death, you know, the joy of life through Jesus, beyond the grave. I think once I really accepted that, that has really helped me continue and see the mission in my life and see the joy in the world, that we can still overcome many trials and tribulations. And I know that my brother's death, while tragic to me, very, very difficult, there are a lot more things in this world that are more difficult, more trialing for others, that I want to be able to have my heart open to see that and help whomever I can through it.
Wow, that's powerful, Alan. That's really powerful. Let's wrap up with one more question. What would you tell someone who doesn't know Christ, um, about Jesus, about how he's changed your life?
I think for me, Jesus is more than we can comprehend. I know in my faith journey, especially early on, or at least at that time when I was sort of trying to pull away, I saw the worldly and not the godly. And the sovereignty of God, the grace and love of Jesus for me, is far more than what this world has to offer. And that is something that it didn't really click until it did. And it's as simple, it's very difficult to elaborate on that for me. But that's the best way I can word it, that I've found the joy in my life through Jesus, that the blessings through him have continued to abound, and that all the struggles in my life have been worth it because of that joy. And I'll just give a quick aside. When right before I got married to Andy, my buddy from college, who's not a believer, we were driving from one place to another, and he said, "Hey, I see a big difference in you since our college time. I see a
Hmm.
joy in you." And he's like, "What is that?" And I said, "That's Christ. That's God working in me, you know, finding my faith and sharing that joy with him." And maybe that gives him a little nudge. I don't know. I haven't seen it fall through yet, but it might be one day soon, and I'll be happy if it did, to help him on that way too.
Yeah, man, that is so awesome. Well, Alan, thank you again on behalf of our congregation for all that you do on the other side of the camera. We're so grateful. We appreciate it. We also will keep praying for you. Alan is looking to make media production in the context of mission and church life a part of his career journey. So we'll always keep praying for that. I am confident, Alan, that God is going to use you in powerful ways. So anyway, blessings and thank you.
Thank you, Phil.